Smiley face murder theory. The smiley face murder theory is a theory about many young men who died after nights out drinking. In many cases, police said the men got drunk, fell into rivers, and drowned by accident. But some people believe these deaths were not accidents. They believe the men were murdered. One well-known case is about a young man named Dakota James. On the night of December 15, 2016, Dakota went out drinking with coworkers in Pittsburgh. Later that night, he called his friend Shelley. He sounded scared and confused. He told her he was cold, lost, and did not know where he was. Shelley rushed out to find him. As Shelley drove toward where Dakota said he was, she checked his phone location. She noticed something was wrong. Dakota was not where he claimed to be. He was far away, in a different part of the city. When Shelley got close, she saw Dakota walk out of a hotel. He looked confused and scared. He started walking toward a black SUV that was parked the wrong way on the street. Shelley pulled up and shouted Dakota's name. He stopped and turned around. He got into her car just as the SUV drove away. Dakota was crying and overwhelmed. He said he remembered going to bars earlier that night, but he could not remember 4 full hours of time. Shelley noticed he could walk straight and speak clearly. He did not seem drunk. Instead, it seemed like he had been drugged. Dakota did not want to talk about what happened. 5 weeks later, after another night of drinking with the same coworkers, Dakota disappeared. 40 days later, his body was found in the Ohio River. Tests showed he had GHB in his body, a drug often used to make people confused or helpless. His body was in good condition, even though it had been in the water for a long time. Marks were also found on his neck. Police ruled Dakota's death an accidental drowning. They said he fell off a bridge while walking home. However, many people found this hard to believe. There was also graffiti of smiley faces on the bridge. This raised more questions. A charge was made on Dakota's credit card 2 days after he disappeared, even though police said he was already dead. Bodies left in water for weeks usually show damage, but his did not. Because of this, many people believe Dakota was murdered. Dakota's case is not the only one. 2 retired detectives, Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte, noticed a pattern in many similar deaths across the United States. They found that hundreds of young men had died in similar ways. Most were white, college-aged, athletic, and popular. They disappeared after nights out at bars or parties. Many seemed drunk even though they had not had much alcohol. Some tested positive for drugs like GHB. All of the victims were later found in rivers or lakes. Many had injuries that did not match drowning. Many bodies were found in strange condition, and in many cases, smiley face graffiti was found nearby. Gannon believes these men were drugged at bars. To others, they looked drunk, so no one became worried. After leaving the bar, they may have been taken by someone, held for some time, and then killed. Their bodies were later placed in water to make it look like an accident. Some people think this could be the work of a group instead of one person. This group may operate in many cities. This would make it harder for police to connect the cases. It would also explain why the deaths happen in clusters. The smiley face graffiti may be a mark left by the killers. Some serial killers have done this before. However, critics say smiley faces are very common graffiti, so this may mean nothing. Police have never fully accepted this theory. Some believe police truly think these deaths were accidents. Others believe police do not want to admit they may have made mistakes in hundreds of cases. There is no clear reason why someone would target these men. Some say it could be jealousy, but that is hard to prove. Others believe the killers may not need a reason at all. Even with questions left unanswered, many people believe some of these deaths were not accidents. Highway 50. On June 6, 1990, Christine Skubish was driving late at night along Route 50 in California. She was traveling from the Sacramento area to Southern California because she was starting a new job as a paralegal. In the car with her was her 3-year-old son, Nick. It was very early in the morning, around 2 a.m., when they reached an area known as Bullion Bend. What happened next is not fully known, but police believe Christine may have fallen asleep while driving. Her car slowly drifted off the road and went down a steep hill that was about 40 feet deep. At the bottom, the car crashed into a tree with great force. The crash was so bad that the roof of the car was completely torn off. Because the hill was steep and covered in thick bushes and trees, no one driving by could see the car from the road. The wreck stayed hidden, and no one knew Christine and her son were there. 2 days later, Christine's parents became worried because they had not heard from her. They reported her missing, and police began searching for her. Officers drove along Route 50 many times, even passing the area where the crash happened, but they never saw the car. There were no clues, and no one knew what had happened to Christine or Nick. Several more days passed with no answers. Then, on June 11th, police received a strange phone call. A woman named Deborah said she and her husband were driving along Route 50 at about 3:30 a.m. when they saw something very unusual. By the side of the road, they saw a woman lying on the ground. The woman was without any clothes. She was lying on her side, facing the road, with her arms raised above her head and her legs slightly bent. Seeing this shocked and scared them. They worried it might be a trick to get them to stop so their car could be stolen. They did not stop. Instead, they drove to a public phone and called the police. Police searched the area right away, but could not find the woman. When daylight came, they searched again. This time, they still did not find the woman, but they did find a small child's shoe near the road. Close by, when an officer looked down the hill, he saw a crashed car hidden in the bushes. It was Christine's car. Inside, police found Christine in the driver's seat. She had died from the crash. Next to her, in the passenger seat, was Nick. He was also without his clothes, curled up and barely alive. Somehow, he had survived 5 days with no food, no water, and no shelter. Doctors said Nick was very close to death when he was found. He was badly dehydrated and very weak. His skin was covered in cuts and blisters from plants. During the day, the weather was very hot, so it is believed he took off his clothes to cool down. At night, it became very cold, and he began to suffer from hypothermia. Nick later made a full recovery, but his mother had died instantly in the crash. Tests showed that Christine had been pinned in place by a large tree branch and could not have left the car. If Christine never left the car, who was the woman seen by the road? Some people think Deborah and her husband may have been mistaken. Others believe Nick may have climbed up the hill at some point, since his shoe was found by the road. The couple said they were sure the person they saw was an adult woman. Some believe the woman was the spirit of Christine, trying to get help for her son. The way the woman was lying matched how Nick was later found. This idea has never been proven, and the case has never been fully explained. To this day, no one knows who the woman was or what really happened that night. The Inokashira Park Dismemberment Incident. On the morning of April 23, 1994, a shocking discovery was made in Inokashira Park in Mitaka, Tokyo. A female cleaner was doing her normal work in the park when she noticed a plastic bag inside a trash bin. The bag looked unusual. It was the kind of bag often used for fish, with a small hole to let liquid drain out. The cleaner thought the bag might contain raw fish. She even joked with her coworker that if there was fish inside, they could give it to the stray cats in the park. When she opened the bag, she made a terrible discovery. Inside was a human foot. She quickly called the police, and officers rushed to the park. The police closed the park to the public and began to search the area. As they checked more trash bins, they found more plastic bags. Inside these bags were parts of a human body. The bags were black, double-layered, and had holes to drain liquid. In total, police found 27 body parts placed inside 24 bags. These included 2 hands, 2 feet, a shoulder, an ankle, and many small pieces of flesh and bone. The head, chest, and private parts were never found. The palms of the hands and the skin on the feet had been cut away, which made it very hard to identify the person. Even so, the body was identified 3 days later. The victim was a 35-year-old man named Seiichi Kawamura. He worked as an architect and lived near the park. He was married and had a child, and his wife was pregnant at the time. On the night he went missing, Kawamura had dinner with his family. Later, he went out drinking and singing karaoke with a former coworker. They said goodbye at Shinjuku Station around 11 p.m. The next morning, when he did not come home, his family reported him missing. An examination of the body was done at a hospital. What police found was very strange. The body had been cut into pieces that were almost all the same size, about 20 centimeters long. The cuts did not follow natural joint lines, which is unusual. The muscles had been trimmed so that each piece was the same size and shape. Police believed the body was cut this way so the pieces would fit perfectly into the trash bins, which were about the same size. Even more shocking, the body had no blood left in it at all. It had also been fully washed and cleaned. There were no signs of a struggle, no broken bones, and no drugs found in the body. Because of this, the cause of death could not be clearly found. However, there were small signs of bleeding inside the muscles, which suggested the man may have still been alive when he was cut. Police believed that whoever did this had medical knowledge and access to a large space with lots of water. Cleaning a body that way would not be possible in a normal home bathroom. Some witnesses came forward, but their stories did not match. One person said they saw Kawamura being attacked by two men, but there were no marks on the body to prove this. Others said they saw two suspicious men carrying plastic bags through the park around 4 a.m. Another witness said they heard a loud car crash sound earlier that night, leading to a theory that Kawamura may have been hit by a car and later cut up to hide the body. Police questioned around 37,000 people, but no suspect was ever arrested. There were also rumors that Kawamura had been part of a religious group and was killed after trying to leave. At the time, Japan had a 15-year time limit on murder cases. This case passed that limit just 1 year before the law was changed. Because of this, the case can no longer be charged. To this day, the Inokashira Park case remains unsolved, and the truth of what happened that night may never be known. Trevaline Evans. Trevaline Evans was born on the 6th of September 1937 in a small town in North Wales. There is not much known about her early life. In 1958, she married Richard Evans. They had one son, also named Richard, who later became a police sergeant. By 1990, Trevaline was 52 years old and owned a small shop called Attic Antiques on Church Street in Llangollen. She had loved collecting old items all her life, and opening her own shop in 1989 was a dream come true. She was well known in the town and often bought items from local people and visitors passing through. Around this time, Trevaline and her husband also bought a holiday bungalow in Rudlin, a seaside town about 30 miles away. They planned to fix it up and live there when they retired. In mid-June 1990, Trevaline and her husband spent time together at the bungalow doing repairs. Trevaline was happy and in good spirits. On Wednesday, June 13th, she returned alone to Llangollen while her husband stayed behind to keep working. Saturday, 16th of June 1990, was a warm and sunny day. As usual, Trevaline drove her blue Ford Escort to her shop. She parked a short walk away and opened the shop at 9:30 a.m. Around 25 people visited that morning, and Trevaline seemed cheerful and friendly. She talked about looking forward to a party that evening. Nothing seemed strange. At about 12:40 p.m., Trevaline left the shop and put a note on the door that said, "Back in 2 minutes." This was something she had done before, so it did not worry anyone. Around 1 p.m., she was seen buying a banana and an apple from a nearby shop. After that, no one knows exactly where she went or what she did for some time. Customers waited outside Attic Antiques, expecting her to return. Some even left money through the letterbox for items displayed outside. The last clear sighting of Trevaline was around 2:30 p.m. She was seen walking toward the town center, heading in the direction of her shop. Soon after, another person reported seeing a woman matching her description walking the opposite way, near a riverside park. She was seen again later that afternoon, still walking away from the shop. The shop never reopened that day. Trevaline's husband tried calling her, but got no answer. A friend checked the house and found she was not there. When the shop was searched that evening, Trevaline's handbag, keys, jacket, and makeup were still inside. Her car was still parked where she left it that morning. She was reported missing at 11 p.m. Police carried out a large search. Hundreds of people were spoken to, and many places were checked, including rivers, mines, and canals. Posters were put up and a reward was offered, but no clear answers were found. In 1997, Trevaline was officially declared dead. Over the years, many rumors and possible sightings were reported, even in other countries, but none were proven. Several leads were looked into, including claims made years later about possible remains, but nothing was confirmed. Strange plaques appeared in 2019 and 2022 with messages about Trevaline. Trevaline's son died in 1999, and her husband passed away in 2014. Her family still hopes for answers. The case remains open, but is no longer active. Ireland's Vanishing Triangle. Just outside Dublin, there is an area that many people now call the Vanishing Triangle. Between the years 1993 and 1998, 8 women went missing in this area. They were never seen or heard from again. The first woman was Annie McCarrick. She went missing on March 26, 1993. Annie was 26 years old and from New York in the United States. She moved to Dublin to study and hoped to become a teacher. She lived in Sandymount and worked part-time in a restaurant. On the day before her birthday, Annie went to the bank and then to a shop to buy food for a dinner she planned with friends. Later that day, she took a bus to the Wicklow Mountains. She was last clearly seen on that bus. That night, she may have been seen in a pub with a young man, but no one saw her leave. Annie never came home and was never seen again. 3 months later, Eva Brennan went missing on July 25, 1993. Eva was 39 and lived in Dublin. She left her parents' house to walk home. 2 days later, her family went to her flat because they were worried. Eva was not there, but her coat was inside, which showed she had returned home. Her bag and keys were missing. Police did not take the case seriously at first, and important time was lost. Eva has never been found. On January 3, 1994, Imelda Keenan disappeared. She was 22 years old and lived in Waterford with her boyfriend. She left their flat to go to the post office in the afternoon. She was last seen crossing the road near a hotel. She never came back and has never been seen again. In November 1995, Josephine Jojo Dullard, aged 21, went missing. She was traveling home from Dublin to County Kilkenny. She missed her bus and decided to hitchhike. She got 2 lifts and was last seen using a phone box late at night. During the call, she said a car had stopped for her and she hung up. There were later reports of a woman matching her description in trouble, but nothing was proven. Jojo has never been found. Fiona Pender disappeared on August 23, 1996. She was 25 and 7 months pregnant. She lived in Tullamore with her boyfriend. She was happy and excited about her baby. One morning, her boyfriend went to work and Fiona was still in bed. Later that day, no one could find her. Large searches took place, but nothing was found. Many years later, a cross with her name appeared in the mountains, but police believe it was a cruel joke. Fiona was never found. On February 13, 1997, Ciara Breen, aged 18, went missing from her home in Dundalk. She was last seen in her bed at night. Later, her mother noticed she was gone. A window was left open, suggesting she planned to return. Ciara took no money or clothes. Police believed she was murdered, but her body has never been found. In February 1998, Fiona Sinnott, a young mother, went missing in County Wexford. She was last seen leaving a pub with her former partner. He said she planned to go to the doctor the next day, but she never arrived. Her home was found almost empty, with many personal items missing. Some of her belongings were later found in bags, but the bags were destroyed before police knew about them. Fiona has never been found. The final case was Deirdre Jacob, who went missing on July 28, 1998. She was 18 and home from college for the summer. She was seen by many people walking near her home in Newbridge. She was very close to her house when she vanished. Despite many witnesses and camera footage, Deirdre disappeared without a trace. Because all of these women vanished in the same large area, the media named it the Vanishing Triangle. Police believed the women were murdered. A special group called Operation Trace was set up. FBI agents helped study the cases and believed the disappearances were linked. Several suspects were looked at, including known criminals, but no one was ever charged. One man, Larry Murphy, was suspected by many, but police found no proof. Other suspects were also questioned, but nothing could be proven. Today, all 8 cases remain unsolved. The women have never been found, and their families are still waiting for answers. The Vanishing Triangle remains one of Ireland's greatest mysteries. The San Pedro Haunting. In the summer of 1988, a woman named Jackie Hernandez moved into a small rented home in San Pedro, California. She was 23 years old and a single mother with one young son. She was also pregnant with her second child. At the time, Jackie was under a lot of stress. She was working several jobs, studying part-time, and going through a painful divorce. Life already felt very hard for her. Soon after moving in, things became even worse. From the first days in the house, Jackie felt like she was being watched. She often felt a presence behind her, but when she turned around, no one was there. This feeling grew stronger over time. At first, strange things happened that did not seem too serious. Small items went missing and later showed up in other rooms. She heard odd knocks and bangs. Sometimes there were strange smells. Jackie tried to tell herself it was just her imagination. One night, a pencil holder lifted off a table and flew across the room toward her. There was no one near it. Jackie grabbed her son and ran to a neighbor's house in fear. She even called the police, but they did not take her story seriously. Still, Jackie knew what she had seen. Her friends and neighbors also began to see unusual things. One friend saw a painting fall and move far from where it had been hanging. Another time, a lamp floated across a room before crashing to the floor. Jackie felt some relief knowing she was not alone and that others believed her. After her second child was born, the activity became darker and more frightening. One night, Jackie saw a thick, blood-like liquid coming from cracks in her ceiling. When she checked the attic, she saw something terrifying. She claimed she saw the floating head of an old man staring at her before flying toward her. She fell back in fear and refused to enter the attic again. Jackie also said she saw dark mist moving through her home. One night, she went to check on her children and saw the figure of an old man sitting on her son's bed. He had gray skin and red eyes. Moments later, he vanished. This event deeply shook her. A friend suggested contacting Barry Taff, a well-known paranormal investigator. Taff and his team visited the house in 1989. They noticed a strong bad smell and loud noises coming from the attic. When 2 team members went up there, one of them said something, grabbed his camera, and threw it away. Later, another team member was almost strangled by a cord that wrapped around his neck on its own. After this, the team never returned. Soon after, Jackie moved far away, hoping the problem would end. At first, things were calm, but months later, strange events started again. Neighbors also saw odd things, including the face of an old man appearing in a TV screen. Jackie once again asked Taff for help. They tried using a Ouija board to communicate with whatever was causing the trouble. The board moved on its own and gave strange answers. It claimed to be a murdered man who fed on dead energy. It also said it attacked one man because he looked like its killer. In the years that followed, Jackie moved several more times. Each move made the activity weaker until it finally stopped. Today, she lives a normal life and says the haunting is over. Some people who lived there later reported strange sounds and smells. Many people doubt the story and say there is little proof. Others believe the many witnesses make it hard to ignore. In the end, no one knows for sure what really happened. It may have been something supernatural, or it may have come from stress and fear. What matters most is that Jackie and her children are safe. Leah Roberts. Leah Roberts was born in 1976 in Durham, North Carolina. She grew up with her parents and her 2 older siblings, Heath and Kara. Her family was very close, and she had a normal and happy childhood. Leah loved spending time with her parents, and people who knew her said she was kind, thoughtful, and curious about life. Leah liked to write and keep journals. She enjoyed meeting new people and trying new things. She also spoke Spanish very well and traveled to places like Costa Rica and Spain. Many people said she seemed wise for her age and had a calm way about her. When Leah was 17, her life changed in a hard way. Her father was diagnosed with a serious lung illness. Not long after that, Leah went to college at the University of North Carolina. She studied Spanish and anthropology and was doing well in school. Sadly, when Leah was only a sophomore, her mother died suddenly from heart disease. Leah took some time off from school to grieve, but later returned to finish her studies. Soon after returning, she was in a bad car accident when a truck pulled out in front of her. She survived, but she was badly hurt. One lung was injured, and her right leg was broken so badly that doctors had to place a metal rod inside it. Even after all this pain, Leah stayed positive. She told her family that surviving the accident made her love life even more. But just 6 months later, her father passed away from his illness. In only a few years, Leah had lost both parents and nearly her own life. In 1999, Leah was one semester away from graduating college. Instead of finishing, she decided to leave school. Her brother Heath asked her to stay and finish her degree, but Leah felt ready to live fully. She had received some money from her parents and wanted to use that time to find herself. Leah moved back to Durham and shared an apartment with her friend Nicole. She spent her days writing, journaling in coffee shops, learning guitar, and taking photos. She met new people and focused on healing in her own way. On March 9, 2000, Leah spoke with her sister Kara on the phone. The call was normal, and they made plans to see each other soon. Later that day, Nicole asked Leah if she wanted to go babysitting with her the next day, and Leah agreed. That night, Nicole noticed Leah and her white Jeep Cherokee were gone. At first, she was not worried because Leah often came and went as she pleased. But when Leah did not show up the next day, Nicole called Kara to say she had not seen her. By March 13, Kara became very worried and reported Leah missing. The next day, Kara and Nicole searched Leah's room. They noticed some clothes were missing, along with Leah's kitten, Bee. They also found a note Leah had written. It said, "I'm not idle, I'm the opposite." Leah had also left enough money to pay rent and bills for 1 month. Kara later checked Leah's bank records and saw that Leah had taken out about $3,000 and traveled across the country. Her last stop was in Oregon, which made Kara think Leah was heading to Washington State. On March 18th, Kara received terrible news. Police in Washington found Leah's Jeep at the bottom of a ravine near a quiet road. The car was badly damaged, but Leah was not there. Almost all her personal items were still inside, including her ID, money, guitar, and passport. There was no blood at the scene, which confused police. Years later, investigators found that a wire in the Jeep had been cut on purpose, making the car move without a driver. This showed the crash may have been staged. Male DNA was also found on Leah's clothing, but no one has been charged. To this day, Leah Roberts has never been found. Her family believes she did not run away or harm herself. Her case remains a mystery, and many questions are still unanswered. Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre. On the morning of February 10, 1990, people in Las Cruces, New Mexico, woke up expecting a normal Saturday. No one knew that within hours, a terrible crime would change the city forever. Around 8:30 a.m., the Las Cruces Bowling Alley had only a few people inside. The parking lot was mostly empty. The manager, 34-year-old Stephanie Senac, was getting ready for the day. Her 12-year-old daughter, Melissa Rapace, and Melissa's 13-year-old friend, Amy Hauser, were there to help with the daycare area. Another worker, 33-year-old Ida Hallguin, was in the kitchen preparing food. Everything felt calm and ordinary. Suddenly, 2 armed men walked into the bowling alley through an unlocked door. One man pointed a gun at Stephanie, Melissa, and Amy. The other man went into the kitchen and threatened Ida. All 4 were forced into Stephanie's office and told to lie face down on the floor. The men then opened the safe and took between $4,000 to $5,000. While this was happening, a 26-year-old pin mechanic named Stephen Tarrant arrived for work. He brought his 2 young daughters with him, 6-year-old Paula and 2-year-old Valerie. When Stephen noticed the bowling alley was empty, he went to check the office. There, he walked into the crime scene. Stephen and his daughters were also forced onto the floor at gunpoint. The victims hoped the men would leave once they had the money. Instead, the attackers made a horrible choice. After emptying the safe, they shot all 7 people at close range. Then they tried to start a fire in the office to destroy evidence and ran away. Even though she had been shot 5 times, Melissa Repass stayed conscious long enough to call 911. Police, firefighters, and medical teams rushed to the scene. They found chaos, smoke, and badly injured people. The suspects were described as 2 Hispanic men, 1 younger and 1 older. They were believed to be driving an older green van or truck. Police set up roadblocks and searched the area, but the suspects were never found. The fire destroyed evidence. Many people moved through the scene while trying to save lives, which damaged more evidence. At the time, DNA testing was limited and fingerprints were hard to use. The survivors were also too badly hurt to give full interviews for weeks. Over the years, police followed many leads, but none led to arrests. Rumors and theories came and went, including ideas about planned crime or personal motives, but nothing was proven. More than 30 years later, the case remains unsolved. Blair Adams. Blair Adams was a 31-year-old man from Canada. His death is still a mystery. No one knows why he was killed or why he was even where he died. Every part of his story is strange and hard to explain. Blair was found dead on July 11, 1996, in the parking lot of a hotel in Knoxville, Tennessee. This was very far from his home in British Columbia, Canada. Around his body was nearly $4,000 in cash. He also had gold and jewelry worth about $2,000. None of it was taken. Blair worked for a construction company and was known as friendly and fun. He worked hard and liked his job. But a few weeks before his death, his family noticed he had changed. His mother said he became angry, nervous, and did not sleep well. She knew something was wrong. When she asked him about it, he said he was scared but would not explain why. On July 5th, Blair's behavior became more worrying. He took out over $6,000 in cash from his bank. He also gathered jewelry and other valuables. He seemed to be planning to leave. He tried to enter the United States, but was stopped at the border. Guards thought he looked suspicious because he was alone and carrying a lot of cash. After being sent back to Canada, Blair quit his job and picked up his last paycheck. He then bought a plane ticket to Germany, where his girlfriend lived. She did not know he was coming. The next day, instead of going to Germany, Blair returned the ticket, rented a car, and entered the United States successfully. Blair first went to Seattle, then flew to Washington, D.C., and finally traveled to Knoxville, Tennessee. This made no sense to police later, because he did not know anyone there. No one could explain why he chose that place. In Knoxville, Blair stopped at a gas station because his rental car would not start. The worker told him he was using the wrong keys. Blair said he had lost the right ones. When asked to check his pockets, he refused. This was very odd. Later, the car company was closed, so Blair could not fix the problem. He got a ride to a nearby motel. At the motel, workers said Blair looked scared and nervous. He kept going in and out of the lobby, as if he was waiting for someone. After an hour, he paid for a room. He put the key in his pocket, walked out the front door, and never came back. That was the last time anyone saw him alive. About 12 hours later, Blair's body was found in a nearby parking lot. He was badly hurt. He had been beaten, and the cause of death was a strong blow to his stomach. He had cuts and bruises, and his hands showed signs that he tried to defend himself. A piece of someone's hair was found in his hand. Blair was partly undressed, and his clothes were damaged. His rental car key was found next to him, even though he had said it was lost earlier. There were signs he may have been attacked in a sexual way, but no clear proof was found. Police found no drugs or alcohol in his body. His family said he had been sober for years. He also had no history of mental illness. Some people think he was running from someone, and they found him. Others think his fear came from his own mind. No one knows the truth. After many years, the case is still unsolved. Blair Adams' death remains one of the strangest and most confusing cases, and it may never be fully explained. Lyn Bryant. Cornwall is in the southwest of the UK. It is well known for its long coastline, small villages, old buildings, and local food. Many people visit Cornwall for its views, history, and calm countryside. In October 1998, Cornwall became the focus of a shocking and tragic crime. On Tuesday, the 20th of October 1998, at around 2:30 in the afternoon, the body of a woman was found in a field gateway near Ruin High Lanes. The spot was close to a Methodist chapel on the Roseland Peninsula, about 5 miles south of Truro. The woman was later named as Lyn Bryant. She was 41 years old and a mother of 2. Lyn had been married to her husband Peter for almost 20 years. They had 2 children, Lee, who was 21, and Aaron, who was 19. Lyn was found by a tourist who was visiting the area. Nearby, Lyn's dog, a tan and white lurcher named Jay, was found alive and unharmed. Police began an investigation straight away. Lyn had been stabbed many times in her neck, chest, and back. Officers described the attack as extremely violent. They believed Lyn had struggled with her attacker and that the attack lasted some time. Evidence showed she was stabbed while standing and also while on the ground. Police also believed the attack may have had a sexual motive, as her clothing had been disturbed. Earlier that day, Lyn had been cleaning a house in the area. After finishing, she planned to visit her parents. At around 12:45 p.m., she drove her gray Ford Sierra, but had to stop because she did not have enough fuel. Around the same time, a woman driving from Truro to St. Mawes noticed a strange man walking along the road. He stood out to her and made eye contact as she passed. He was about 5 feet 10 inches tall, in his early 30s, with dark eyebrows and a strong jaw. At about 1 p.m., Lyn arrived at a local garage where she bought fuel, milk, and food. She spoke briefly to a friend. While she was there, a small white van arrived and parked in an odd way, facing her car. The driver was described as a large man aged between 30 and 50, with a round face and a thick brown beard with some gray in it. He was wearing a green wax jacket. Staff later noticed that this man appeared to follow Lyn when she left. After going home for lunch and watching television with her daughter Erin, Lyn left again at 1:35 p.m. to walk her dog. This was part of her daily routine. She walked along the quiet country lanes toward the Methodist chapel. Between 1:45 and 2 p.m., a witness saw Lyn talking to a clean-shaven man near the chapel. This was the last confirmed sighting of her alive. Soon after, her body was found nearby. She was pronounced dead at 2:50 p.m. Less than an hour later, a farmer saw a man walking quickly through a nearby field. Police believe this man may have been involved. Months later, Lyn's glasses were found near the scene. Police found this strange, as the area had already been searched. They believe the glasses may have been placed there later. Over the years, thousands of DNA samples were taken, but early testing found nothing useful. In 2016, new testing found a partial DNA profile. Sadly, many old samples had already been destroyed before new technology became available. Police still believe the killer knew the area well and knew Lyn's routine. Even today, police continue to ask for information. A reward is offered for details that could lead to an arrest. Hae Min Lee. Hae Min Lee was an 18-year-old girl in Baltimore, Maryland in 1999. She went to Woodlawn High School and was dating 17-year-old Adnan Syed. Their relationship was secret because their families had different religious beliefs. Eventually, Hae Min Lee ended the relationship and started seeing a co-worker named Dawn. Hae Min Lee was very popular and known for being happy and friendly. Adnan Syed was also liked by many people, and aside from smoking marijuana, he did not get into trouble with the law. On January 13, 1999, Hae Min Lee was reported missing after she did not pick up her cousin from school. The police asked Adnan Syed about her. He said he had expected Hae Min to give him a ride home, but she was late and he thought she probably left. Nobody knew where she was. This was the first time Hae Min Lee had ever disappeared. Her body was found on February 9th in Lincoln Park in Baltimore. On February 12th, the police received an anonymous tip to look closer at Adnan Syed. He had a cell phone, which was not common at the time. The phone records showed he had called a man named Jay Wilds. When police talked to Wilds, he first said he didn't know about any crime. Later, he changed his story. Wilds said that Syed showed him Hae Min's body in the trunk of her car. Wilds claimed he helped Syed bury the body in Lincoln Park on the evening of January 13. Syed was arrested on February 28th and charged with first-degree murder. Jay Wilds was charged as an accessory but received a plea deal and did not go to jail. The first trial of Adnan Syed was a mistrial because the jury heard something they were not supposed to about his lawyer. In the second trial, on February 25, 2000, Syed was found guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and robbery. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years. Later, in 2010, he asked for post-conviction relief because his lawyer had not done a good job. There was a witness, Asia McLean, who said she saw Syed at the library on the day of the murder. His lawyer had ignored this. Also, the cell phone records used in the trial may not have been accurate. Syed's conviction was briefly overturned, but the appeals courts later restored it. The Supreme Court refused to hear the case. There is evidence both for and against Syed being guilty. Some reasons for guilt are that he was upset about the breakup, had the chance to commit the crime, and witnesses said he was with Wilds on the day of the murder. Some reasons for not being guilty are that he had no criminal history. There is no physical evidence linking him to the crime, and Wilds may not have been a reliable witness. Syed turned down a plea deal that would have let him go free after 4 more years in prison. He may have done this because he claims he is innocent, or because he did not want to admit guilt. The Hae Min Lee case is very complicated. There is no clear answer about Syed's guilt. Michelle von Emster. In Southern California in the spring of 1994, some surfers found something shocking: the body of a young woman floating in a bed of seaweed. At first, it looked like she had been attacked by a shark because her right leg was completely missing. But when shark experts looked closely at her injuries, they said they had never seen a shark attack like this. People began to wonder, what really happened to Michelle von Emster? Michelle was born on August 2, 1968, and grew up in San Carlos, California. She was one of 5 sisters and loved life. Her friends said she was smart, adventurous, and full of energy. She enjoyed the ocean, hiking, and the arts. After high school, she went to St. Mary's College in Moraga, California, staying close to her family. But during college, Michelle was diagnosed with cancer. She had to stop her studies to focus on treatment, but she fought hard and recovered. After this, she decided to start fresh and moved to San Diego, where she rented a small apartment in the Ocean Beach neighborhood. Ocean Beach was beautiful, but it also had some dangerous areas. There were homeless people, drug use, and crime. Michelle worked at a local coffee shop at first, but she quit because a man there made her feel unsafe. By 1994, she was 25 years old and working at an office supply store. On April 13, 1994, Michelle went on a date with a coworker named Edwin Decker. They went to a bar for music and drinks. The night ended normally, and Michelle took a cab home. The next evening, April 14th, Michelle and her roommate planned to go to a Pink Floyd concert but had the wrong tickets. They returned home, and Michelle asked to be dropped off at the pier, just 6 blocks from her apartment. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. The next day, April 15th, surfers near Sunset Cliffs found her body floating in the water. Her right leg was gone, and chunks of flesh were missing. She was taken to the lifeguard station, and at first, it looked like a shark attack. The medical examiner said the injuries could only have been caused by a great white shark. But experts who studied the case disagreed. They said the cuts on her leg were strange and did not match any known shark attack. No shark teeth were found in her body either, which was unusual if a great white was responsible. Michelle's injuries included a broken neck, broken ribs, bruises, and sand in her mouth and lungs. This suggested she had been pushed or forced underwater. The story that she went swimming alone at night didn't fit. It was cold, and she usually wore a coat. Also, her purse was found 2 miles away on the beach, untouched, which seemed strange. Because of these details, many people believe Michelle was murdered. Some think her killer may have drowned her and cut off her leg to make it look like a shark attack. Others suspect Edwin, or even a man who had stalked her before. Clothes were missing, possibly destroyed by the killer. The truth about Michelle's death is still unknown. Her case remains one of the many strange and tragic mysteries in the world. People continue to talk about her story, hoping that someday justice will come for Michelle and her family. Billie Jo Jenkins. Billie Jo Jenkins was born on March 29, 1983, to Blair Jenkins and Deborah Barnett. Her early life was hard. Her father was in prison, and her mother struggled to take care of her alone. Because of this, Billie Jo was placed into foster care when she was young. In 1992, she was placed with a well-off family in Hastings, England. The family included Father Sean, Mother Louise, and their 4 daughters, Annie, 12, Charlotte, 10, Esther, 8, and Maya, 7. Billie Jo felt comfortable there, as they shared the same last name. She was described as a happy and lively girl who loved the family dog, Holly, and dreamed of becoming an actress one day. On February 15, 1997, Louise took Esther and Maya out for the day. They went to the seaside, went shopping, and ran errands. At home, Sean stayed with Annie, who was cleaning, and 13-year-old Billie Jo, who was painting doors in the back garden. Charlotte was at a clarinet lesson. Later, Sean and Annie went to pick up Charlotte, leaving Billie Jo alone in the garden. After returning from the lesson, Sean said he wanted to go to a store to buy white spirit to clean up the paint. At the store, he realized he had no money and quickly went back home to get cash. Witnesses said he drove around the neighborhood for 15 to 20 minutes, which some thought was suspicious. When he returned with the white spirit, Charlotte went to check on Billie Jo and found her lying in a pool of blood. She screamed for her father, who put his other daughters in the playroom before calling for help. Billie Jo had severe injuries to her head and face. Sean told the dispatcher she was still breathing, but paramedics later found her dead. The autopsy revealed she had suffered 9 blows to the head with an iron tent peg. Her skull and ribs were broken, and she had bruises on her arms. There was no sign of sexual assault. Pieces of black plastic bags were found in her nose, similar to garbage bags. Police initially investigated a local man and a known rapist, Anthony Emila, but both were ruled out. Suspicion soon turned to her foster father, Sean Jenkins. Louise told police he had a history of violence and had hurt his daughters before. Friends of Billie Jo also said they had seen her with bruises. Sean's behavior around the time of the crime also seemed strange, and police found microscopic blood spots on his clothes. Sean was arrested on February 24, 1997, and later charged with murder. His first trial ended with a guilty verdict, and he was sentenced to life in prison in 1998. He appealed, and after years of investigation and 2 more trials, the courts found the original conviction unsafe. In February 2006, Sean was acquitted and released. The case had a huge impact. Over £1 million was spent on investigations and trials. More than 700 witnesses gave statements, and jurors spent many hours deciding on the case. Sean applied for compensation for false imprisonment in 2010, but it was denied. Louise moved to Tasmania with her 4 daughters, and they have had no contact with Sean since. Billie Jo's funeral was held on April 23, 1997, with over 300 people attending. Her biological mother attended briefly, but left during the service. In 2022, authorities announced a forensic review of the case. They hope that new DNA testing and improved technology will help identify Billie Jo's killer and finally bring justice. Billie Jo was a bright young girl whose life was taken far too soon. Her family, friends, and the public continue to hope that one day her murderer will be found, so those who loved her can have closure. Suzy Lamplugh. It was a bright summer afternoon in the 1980s. Suzy Lamplugh, a 25-year-old real estate agent, had a busy day ahead. She left her office to show a property to a new client. This was a normal part of her job, but this would be the last time anyone saw Suzy. Nobody knows exactly where she went or who she met. Suzy was born on May 3, 1961. Her father was a lawyer, and her mother ran a fitness company. Suzy was the oldest of 3 children. Her family was close and had strong values. Before becoming a real estate agent, Suzy worked as a beautician on the Queen Elizabeth II liner. This job helped her develop people skills and confidence. Later, she joined Sturgis estate agents in Fulham, London. She quickly became known as a hard-working and charming agent. Her father described her as lively and full of life. She had a friendly personality and was popular with both friends and clients. She shared a flat in Putney with a male flatmate close to her workplace. Her daily routine included meeting clients and showing properties. Suzy sometimes wrote about her job in her diary. She noted that being alone with strangers could be risky. She was often placed at the office window desk because she was considered very attractive, which made her more noticeable. A few days before her disappearance, Suzy experienced some unusual incidents. She visited the Prince of Wales pub in Putney, and a few things were taken from her handbag. The landlord later returned the items to her. On July 28, 1986, Suzy left her office around 12:40 p.m. to meet a client called Mr. Kipper at 37 Shorolds Road, Fulham. She had the property keys and £15, but left her handbag in the car. She was last seen around 1 p.m. outside the property. Some witnesses saw a well-dressed couple getting into a car. Later that night, Suzy's car, a Ford Fiesta, was found near a for-sale property. Her purse was inside, the car was unlocked, and the keys were missing. When Suzy did not return to work, her employer reported her missing around 6:45 p.m. Police began investigating immediately, interviewing friends, family, and colleagues. Witnesses reported seeing an argument between a man and someone in a black BMW near where Suzy's car was found. Suzy was declared dead in 1993, but her body has never been found. The main suspect has always been John Cannon, a man with a history of violent crimes. He was questioned many times but was never charged due to lack of evidence. The most likely theory is that John Cannon was involved. He had just been released from prison 3 days before Suzy disappeared. His nickname in prison was Mr. Kipper, the same name Suzy's client used. He was known to be in the area and had a history of violent crimes, including assault and murder. Witnesses saw him near Suzy's office and properties. Other theories suggest Suzy might have been stalked or abducted. Some mysterious phone calls were made to the pub she had visited, possibly to mislead the police. A less likely idea is that she was attacked randomly, but evidence suggests the event was planned. Suzy's parents, Paul and Diana, founded the Suzy Lamplugh Trust. It works to improve personal safety, especially for people working alone, and helps victims of stalking and harassment. Even decades later, Suzy's case remains one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in Britain. John Cannon remains in prison, serving 3 life sentences, and his release was denied in 2023. In 1993, something terrible happened in the mountains of southern Siberia. It was so strange and confusing that even today, nobody really knows what caused it. On August 9, 1993, a group of Ukrainian kayakers was traveling down a river in the Khamar Daban mountain range. The area was beautiful and peaceful, but then they saw something strange. A young woman was walking near the forest. She looked lost. Her face was blank, like she wasn't really there. Her clothes were dirty and had blood on them. The kayakers called out to her, but she didn't answer. She didn't even speak. It was clear something awful had happened. The woman's name was Valentina Yudochenko. She had gone hiking with a group, but now she was alone. The others in her group, 6 people, were missing. Valentina was the only one left. Valentina's group began their trip on August 2nd. There were 7 people in total: Tatiana Filipenko, 24, Alexander Krisin, 23, Denis Shvashkin, Victoria Zalasova, Valentina Yudochenko, and Timur Bapanov. Leading them was Ludmila Korovina, a highly experienced guide who was 41 years old. Ludmila was an expert in hiking. She had led many trips before and was very well known in Russia. The rest of the group were young but experienced. They were all excited and prepared. The Khamar Daban mountains weren't considered dangerous, especially in summer. There were other groups hiking nearby too, including one led by Ludmila's own daughter. The plan was for the 2 groups to meet the next day. The weather was supposed to be clear, but that forecast turned out to be very wrong. Soon after they began hiking, the group was hit by freezing rain and snow. The temperature dropped quickly, and the trail became hard to follow. On August 4th, the storm got even worse. They were forced to change their path and missed the meeting with Ludmila's daughter. Tired and cold, the group stopped to camp near the top of a mountain. Strangely, they were just 30 minutes away from a safe shelter. Some people later questioned why they didn't go the extra distance, but they stayed there overnight. The next morning, the storm was still going. Ludmila decided they needed to get off the mountain. She led the group downhill into the forest, but they never made it. Just a few minutes into the hike, Alexander, the strongest member, suddenly collapsed. Foam came out of his mouth. He started bleeding from his nose and ears and shaking violently. Everyone was shocked. He had seemed healthy just moments before. Ludmila told the others to continue down while she stayed with Alexander. She chose Dennis and Timur to lead the rest of the group. Valentina, Tatiana, and Victoria down the mountain. But after a few minutes, they heard loud screams. They ran back and found both Ludmila and Alexander lying on the ground. Alexander was already dead. Ludmila was barely alive. Some say she had a heart attack. Others think she died the same strange way as Alexander. Then things got even worse, because right after that, Victoria and Timur also collapsed. They began shaking and bleeding just like Alexander. They tore off their clothes, scratched their skin, and gasped for air. Valentina tried to help Victoria, but Victoria bit her. Meanwhile, Dennis ran away, scared and confused. Then, Tatiana started acting strangely too. She took off her warm clothes and began smashing her head against a rock. She kept hitting herself until she stopped moving. In just a short time, 5 of the hikers were either dead or dying. Only Dennis and Valentina were left. Dennis came back to help Valentina. They stayed near the area where their friends had died. They didn't know what to do. They had no idea what was happening. But then Dennis started bleeding too. He collapsed just like the others. Now Valentina was the only one left. Terrified and alone, she grabbed supplies from the camp and walked into the forest. She wandered for 3 days until the kayakers found her. It took 3 more weeks for rescue teams to find the bodies. Valentina was too traumatized to explain where exactly the group had died. When searchers found the campsite, they were horrified. One rescuer said, "It was a scary picture. Some of the hikers were lying together. Others were spread out. They had no eyes. The bodies were in very bad shape. An autopsy said that the hikers died from hypothermia and a lack of protein." But many people think that doesn't fully explain what happened. Why did they start bleeding? Why did they foam at the mouth, even though they had just slept in tents and eaten breakfast? Valentina said they had all eaten well. She ate the same food as everyone else. If the food was bad, why did only she survive? Some people believe they ate something poisonous, like a bad mushroom or berry. Ludmila was known to pick wild food, so it's possible. But Valentina never said they ate anything from the forest. And again, she survived. Others think it might have been something in the air, a chemical or gas. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, many dangerous chemicals were lost or dumped. Maybe the group was exposed to something toxic. The way they died, bleeding, shaking, and foaming, sounds similar to how some nerve agents work. But if the air was poisoned, how did Valentina survive for 3 more days? Another strange detail is that when officials found out the hikers were missing, they didn't start a search right away. They waited a full week, even though the weather was fine. Some people think they waited for any dangerous chemicals to disappear. But even this theory has problems. The place where the hikers died wasn't very remote. In fact, it was close to a shelter used by other travelers. If the government was testing dangerous chemicals, why would they choose a spot that people often visited? It doesn't really make sense. And so the mystery remains. We still don't know what truly caused the deaths of those 6 young hikers. Everything happened so fast, and in such a strange way, that no one has been able to explain it clearly. Valentina is the only person who witnessed it all, but for many years she didn't talk about it. Even now, she remembers only some parts of what happened, and those memories might not be complete because of the shock she went through. A group of young, experienced hikers set out on a trip, and only one came back. The rest died suddenly, in horrible ways, and we still don't know why. Just like the Dyatlov Pass mystery, the Khamar Daban case continues to puzzle people, and it may stay that way forever.